And welcome everyone to today's webinar. I'm really excited to be introducing my colleague Themba Skosana. In just a moment, he's going to dive right into today's topic. But first, just a quick welcome from me and Cloud Education Solutions, Cloud EDU, your Google for Education partner. And we're excited. This is our last webinar of the year, but it's a really good one and relevant for educators who are trying to get ready in Southern Africa, at least, to close down their classrooms. If you're watching from overseas or a different time of the year, this may not make sense, but we are finishing up school in the next month here in South Africa. Cloud Education Solutions is your Google for Education partner. We provide technical services, we provide outstanding professional development, and we sell Chromebooks and the Chrome Education Upgrade license. But I'm really excited to talk to you about the upcoming Innovate EDU conference. That conference is our replacement for the, Themba, if you could go to the next slide. That conference is our replacement for our former EdTech Team South Africa summits. We've decided to refresh the brand and also reinvigorate and redesign the experience. So over 2 days, you'll have the opportunity to attend not necessarily 8 workshops, which felt like a fire hose was turned on if you've been to one of our summits in the past, but you'll be able to attend 4 2.5-hour long workshops, which will really allow you to take a deep dive into what's on offer. And Themba, the next slide. And so far, we've got some fantastic presenters confirmed. We've got Alan Antoine, who will be in his first visit to South Africa. He's the director of STEM education at Rice University. Patrick McGrath works for TextHelp and is in charge of Equatio, the fantastic tool offered for maths and physical science teaching. Russian Hurley's focus is going to be on video production. Sylvia Duckworth, many of you already know, is the queen of sketchnoting, and she'll be here and has been to South Africa before, as has Monica Isabel Martinez, who is now a Googler. She is in charge of the Teacher Center at Google, and she's going to be here in South Africa, really doing a great workshop on inclusivity and using the Google tools for that purpose. But she'll also have some secret behind-the-scenes insights on the Teacher Center and working at Google. And you guys, probably most of you know Ken Shelton and Holly Clark, who've been here many times in the past. Holly has just come out with her new book, The Chromebook Infused Classroom. So we're really excited to have her here, along with Ken, who's doing a couple of really interesting workshops. Ken is an Apple Distinguished Educator, as well as a Google Certified Innovator and Trainer, and is on Google's advisory board for inclusivity. All right, so as you may know, the reason for mentioning this is we've got a lottery to give away a free ticket. So I'll be dropping the link into the chat a couple of times throughout the session today, and you'll be able to register to win a chance for a free ticket to Innovate EDU next March. And with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Themba Skosana, who will be teaching you all you need to know. He'll be schooling you in all you need to know about getting your Google Classroom cleaned up for the end of the year. And with that, I say goodbye, and Themba, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate that intro. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, and I'm so glad to be here with everybody. And can you believe it? We are at November 2021, and it really feels like as if, you know, we were at the pandemic, at the start of the pandemic, like yesterday. So it's so good to have everybody here. And as Kevin mentioned, today's session, we thought to actually take the initiative to actually provide you with some tips and tricks on how one can go about in cleaning your classroom before the end of the academic year, preparing for next year. And with that said, some of you might be sitting there thinking, but Themba, where do we start with this cleanup? Because we will be focusing mainly on Google Classroom, but alongside with that, we'll be looking at the other Google applications such as your Drive, your Mail, and as well as Calendar. And so today it is definitely a hands-on demonstrational a webinar for you for today. And so I really hope that you find some value into it. So the first step would be to return your students' work. As we all know, understanding this a concept or feature in Google Classroom is giving back your students their ownership of their work. And so, hey, how about I just jump right into a quick show and tell and as to how to quickly give your students your work. So I'm going to just quickly open up Google Classroom, and I'm going to head over to the my specific classroom that I've set up. Head over to your classwork, and then open up that particular assignment that you've assigned to your students. And as soon as that opens up, just pivot over to the left side here, right next to your all students. Just going to zoom in just a tad bit there for you and hit that block there. That will then select all of your students at the same time, and one can then go and hit the return button. But before I hit the return button, I'm just going to give you another way on how one can do that quickly. Head over to your Marks tab from your Google Classroom. And then as soon as it opens up, the same assignments that are found within that specific classroom will then also be depicted here. And one can head over to the three vertical dots, your meatballs, and hit that return all button. And then a pop-up screen will come up there. You can just might as well go and give a well done students to the good work, but then hit that return button as soon as that pops up. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, you have now returned your work to your students. And so I'm going to go ahead and just do that for all of my other three assignments that I've assigned to the students. A very quick, as you guys can see, very quick way of doing that. There we go. Now, once your students' work has been returned to them, remember, before you can return your students' work, that would mean that you've assigned an assignment to them and they have submitted that assignment. And you go and you grade that accordingly, and then you return that work. And then now that you've returned your students' work, let's look at the next part that we will need to do. And that will be to remove your students from your classroom. Now, most of you might be thinking, oh, wow, we've taken so much effort to put them in the classroom, but well, what would be the reasons behind removing our students from the classroom? Well, let's quickly look at the benefits of removing students from your classroom. Number one, it is all about preventing students from accessing your class materials for future references. And so if you have taken so much time in preparation for certain material that you have prepared for your students for that academic year, you would want to make sure that you keep that information after you've sent it out and you've made it available to them, that one will restrict the shareability of that resource. And so prohibiting students from sharing your class materials, and once again, ensuring academic integrity. And so how we're going to go about in removing your students is quite very easy. So just let me quickly show you how we're going to do that. We're going to pivot back to our classroom and head over to People tab. Now, most of you will definitely be familiar with this interface here, where you can manage your users within your classroom. And the easiest thing here to do is just to head over to the block again. I'm going to go ahead and just zoom in a little bit and hit that block right next to the tick box, right next to your actions. And you will see right next to actions a drop-down menu, your Samosa, or the little sharp teeth. And then you will go to remove. And this, ladies and gentlemen, will then go and remove everybody simultaneously for you. Once again, a very easy maneuver there. And then, ladies and gentlemen, once you have removed your students from your classroom, you are now ready for the next part, which is going to be, that we're going to quickly look at, is archiving your classrooms. Now, there is actually quite a very good reason into why do we archive our classrooms. Now, I've already taken the time to clean up my whole classroom, etc. And one thing that I can mention is that after a very good productive academic year, your classroom can really be clustered. And there can be a lot of classroom tiles that you might have. So I'm going to pivot over to the classroom and head over to classes, just to give you a little bit of an example. So I've actually taken the time to clean up. I had quite a lot of lists, but these are just a couple of classrooms just to add a little bit here. And you would want to now go and archive a particular classroom. Instead of opening up that classroom, what you can just do is pivot over to the tiles and then head over to the 3 dots. And once you click on those 3 dots, it will then give you the option to archive. And let me see if I'm able to zoom in. Yes, I am. So when one hits the 3 dots, you'll head over to the archive button, hit that, and there will be a notice that comes up. And let's quickly just take some time and just read quickly through that. And so as you see there, a lot of posts, announcements, and a lot of materials that you have used before within a classroom will then be stored within your drive. And the amazing thing about this is that if you want to go ahead and modify some of the work within your archive classes, I will actually give you a very good way on how to restore those classes. So let's go ahead and hit the archive button. And now it has disappeared. And so some of you might be thinking, all right, Themba, so it is away from my classroom tiles. And so where did it go? If you've never worked with archive classes before, just pivot over to the 3 horizontal lines on the top left corner of your screen that seem to look like a hamburger. And so you'll just hit on that. It's a pop-up menu. And when you pivot over to the bottom, scroll downwards right to the bottom there, you'll see the archive classes option. And there it is there. So I'm going to just hit on that. And what it'll do is it'll then just give it a moment there. It will then give me the archive of all our classes that we've put away and that are not as part of our classroom tiles anymore. And there they just appeared. And, by visual clue there, you'll see these lighted diagonal lines over them. And these are your archived classes, ladies and gentlemen. And so, and once you feel, Themba, I actually want to reuse some of the materials that I've used before in that specific classroom, I want to modify it, reuse it. You are then able, ladies and gentlemen, to go and restore your archived classes. And I'm going to show you how to do that, a very quick one there. But 2 clicks and you are able to restore that classroom so you may reuse any classroom posts that are relevant to that specific class, lesson, etc. And then also one can reuse your assignment. And so just as shown on this small image here, it is a very quick click of 2 clicks there, hit that restore button. Your Samusa, your 3 vertical dots, and then hit that restore button. And then it will then return back to your classes. And then now that we've looked at our 3rd tip there, ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly look at the next one, and that is removing your classroom calendars. Some of you might be thinking, how? I've never realized that. Well, within the Google Workspace for Education platform, within your classroom, they are all connected with one another. And so when one logs into your Google Classroom and you create a classroom, then an automated Google Calendar is then created for you. And so we will then head over to this side just to quickly show you how that works. And so if you pivot over to your calendar, so just quickly opening up calendar there, a very nice show and tell there, using the waffle to open up our calendar. I'm going to head over just to make it look nice and neat. Right click on it and just pin it there. All right. And so once I've added a classroom, or created a classroom as a teacher, then I will find the calendar of that classroom within my Google Calendar also. And the amazing thing is as you can see, I've cleaned up my classrooms here and there. And then these are just some of the other classes just that I've left so that everybody can see how it would look when one has a classroom. And there is the classroom calendar of that classroom that I just archived recently. And then, ladies and gentlemen, how one cleans this area up is then by going in and hovering over that calendar, and then one can just hit the cross button there that gives you where you can unsubscribe from that. But another good way also, some of you might say, well, Tim, but there are some deadlines, some dates that I actually need to look at in comparison to last year's work, etc. How do I go about that? Well, what one can do is when you hover over your Google Calendar and you just hit those three dots, you can also hide from the list. So that's another good way. Let me just zoom in a little bit there for you guys if I am able to. Seems to you I can't. But that's a very good way for you to go and also clean up and just make it much more easier to find certain classrooms and calendars within your Google Calendar. All right. And then moving right along to the next part, ladies and gentlemen, is the moving of old folders to your archive folder. So not only are calendars automatically created for you when one creates a classroom, but also classroom folders, especially for all those documents, the forms, the docs, the sheets, all those classroom files that you share and you send and you assign to your students need a place to be stored within. And so to make it easier for you, you will also realize once you log into Classroom and you create that very first class, a Classroom general folder is then created within your Drive. And so we're going to pivot over to Classroom, to Drive, rather. Pivot over to Drive, hit that My Drive button on the left-hand side, and there you will see the Classroom folder right there. It will be a standalone, very general file, Classroom, and when you click on it, it will then depict all of your classes that are in Google Classroom. Those same classes will have their own respective folders within this specific general Classroom Drive folder. And there you have, I have my Classroom folder. I've already cleaned up the other classes so that it's just easier for you guys to see on the eye. So what I'll do is then I'll head over. So just imagine you have many more other folders representing other classes that you have. And I'm going to head over to the new button and I will hit to create a new folder and just call this one archived. Say archive folder. Okay, folder. And I can say old classrooms and hit that create button. And there we have our classroom. And make it a little bit of fun. Head over there and change the color a little bit. So I'll just make it red there. And what I then can do is then I will then click on that specific classroom that I want to clean up, the classroom folder that I want to clean up, and just push it over into that archive folder. And now you've archived that specific Classroom Drive folder within the specific archived folder. And once again, giving it now space within that specific drive and just making it more look clean. All right. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the next part that we're going to quickly look at. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, there we go. The importance of that classroom, the classroom folder that you have, is to make sure that you do not delete that classroom folder. The reason for that is that you will then lose all the content of that specific class, of content that you've used, material that you've created together, etc. So please make sure. And just to quickly show you where is this classroom found within your Drive, there will then be a classroom folder that's created for you. You might have thought, I've never created this one. That is the automated one that is created for you. And when you open it up, it will then show all those folders of your classroom. So please make sure to not delete the specific folder that is in your Drive itself. All right. And then last but not least, the tip that we're going to give in cleaning up your Google Classroom at the end of the year is archiving your classroom emails. And so there are many ways, and it's all personal preference as to how teachers will organize their mails, what type of inboxes they're using. But in this case, what one would do is that you would head over to your Gmail. So I'm going to quickly pivot over to my Gmail. There we go. Once again, to the waffle, opening up my Gmail there for you. Heading over while it's opening, just going to go ahead and pin it. Alrighty. And now what I'll do is here I got a couple of unread emails here. And what I can do is there are many ways on how you can organize your inbox in terms of making sure that you have emails coming in and you can manage those. Within your Google Classroom, you'll come to see in your general settings, there is a notification that brings that allows notification to be sent out. And I'm very glad to quickly show you where that is found. And what this does is it pushes a lot of emails within your inbox in regards to all the activity that's happening within your classroom. So if you get over to the 3 dots and you head over to the bottom 2 settings, this is the area where notifications are activated, and they're all sent out as email notifications. And so going back to our drive, to our Gmail, you will see that when there's a new assignment sent out or a new post or a post that mentions you, you will then receive an email dropping into your inbox. And so in this case here, what I can do is I will then identify by rather going to the search button, ladies and gentlemen, and then putting in classroom, and then choosing a specific classroom. You can just say classroom.google, if I'm correct, to google.com, and one can then filter all your emails that are coming from your Google Classroom. And now here, as you see, a very simple way to do that. And then what you can then do is select those all those emails there. And then what I've done is that I can either go and archive then those emails, which will be a very good thing. Then it's omitted from your inbox and stored into your all mail in your archive. Or I can also go and manage those and add those labels there. But hitting that archive button in your dynamic floating toolbar will be the best option for you to clean up your Gmail in regards to your classroom emails that were coming in as you were teaching. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it from my side then. I really hope that was very informative for you, and I really hope that you enjoyed that. Please do hit that subscribe button there. We would love to have you at our next webinar next year. But thank you very, very much for your time, and I really hope that you enjoy cleaning up your classroom. I'm very sure there are no questions there, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, I just want to say thank you.